Hey, Richest you money maniacs, welcome back. In this video, we're going to be talking about socialism gone wrong. Let's get right to it. Hey everybody, this is Tom from Richest You. Welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about a subject that seems to be really popular nowadays. In fact, it's a little bit shocking to me that it's so popular. In fact, it's gone so far that there are actually people in political positions of power who are openly admitting to this particular belief. And the belief that I'm talking about is socialism specifically. Now, it's curious, and here's why. Because every example throughout history, in the entire history of mankind, that anytime socialism or communism has been applied in practice, in real life, it has failed miserably. So that's the wonderful thing about it. When you're talking about it in theory, and you're at a dinner party, and you're sharing with friends, and you've had a few glasses of wine, and everybody's relaxed, and they're all just talking about just whatever comes up, and then all of a sudden they get into religion and politics, and all these interesting different views come up. And it always sounds really, really great when you're talking about it in that kind of a setting, where everybody can just toss out whatever they want in terms of, well, wouldn't it be wonderful if this was the way the world was? Wouldn't it be wonderful if mankind lived this way or thought this way or did these things? But when it comes down to the brass tacks of it, the fact of the matter is human beings always revert back to almost primitive caveman ways. They almost always go to, dog eat dog. He who has the gold makes the rules. The guy with the biggest stick is in charge. I mean, look at the United States. They have the most powerful military in the world. And guess who's in charge of the world right now? They've built this global empire. And everybody hates us for it. Congratulations, we have the biggest stick. Okay, so back to the idea that socialism is so popular right now. Well, why would that be? Well, there's a really big gap right now between those who have and those who do not. And a lot of that has to do with the way the economy is run, but more importantly, it has everything to do with the way people think, the way people have been taught in schools, the way people are taught at home. Money doesn't grow on tree. Who do you think you are? What makes you so special that you should have your cake and eat it too? What makes you think you can be a good person and be rich at the same time? So the reason that I wanted to make this video is I saw this amazing article about a teacher who decided to allow his students to apply socialism to their grades as a good example of what the effect is of socialism on the human consciousness, on a community of people. Now, a lot of people would argue, yeah, but that's not how socialism actually works. That's not fair because it was just in a classroom and it's just a bunch of kids and what do they know? The fact of the matter is, the human nature kicked in this experiment, and that was the beautiful thing about this teacher using it for his classroom to make the point that socialism always fails. Now, here's why. First off, you have to understand that socialism, they talk about it always from a moral standpoint. Socialism is wonderful and communism is wonderful. Why? Because it's fair. It gives everybody equal, so everybody's the same. Everybody has the same clothes, the same income. They have the same responsibility to their community. It's all fair and wonderful. But what they always leave out is that there's always somebody that has to rule the fairness. There's somebody who has to stay on top of who is getting the fair amounts, right? There's always a ruler. There's always a ruling class. There's always a parliament. There's always somebody who's in charge. And you can be sure in every example of communism and socialism, those people in charge, oh, well, they're special. They don't get the same. They get that little bit of extra because, well, they're in charge and that's a lot of responsibility. They're very important people and so they're special. Okay, so what happened in this experiment? If you haven't read the article, I would strongly encourage you to go into the description down below and click on the link to the article and read it because it's brilliant. This teacher was a genius. But even better, while you're at it, make sure you like this video and click subscribe to our channel so you know every time we upload new content. So this article, the teacher was debating with his students about socialism and the pitfalls of the socialist or communist ideal. And the students, of course, being younger and less experienced and maybe not having the awareness of what's occurred in the past, politically and geopolitically, decided to take it upon themselves to take the position that communism and socialism is a great idea because it's just fair. It's just fair. It makes it even for everybody. And you know, even the downtrodden should be fair. We should give them income. We should give them food and housing. We're so rich as a country that, you know what, we should just hand stuff out to everybody. We're so rich. We spend trillions and trillions of dollars on government debt. Why aren't we just giving that money to everyone that needs it and give an equal amount? Okay, well, we'll get into that in just a minute, but let's keep to the description of this article and what happened with this experiment. The teacher said, fine, here's what we're going to do. We're going to apply socialism to this class's grades. And so for the rest of this semester or the rest of this class, whatever it is, everybody's grades will be averaged because that's what's fair. That's what's fair. So people who get high grades obviously will be averaged down in with people who get lower grades because you want to help those people who are having trouble, right? By taking advantage of the fact that these people who got higher grades can help bring up those lower people, make everybody equal. So everybody's fair, right? They all agreed to it, and it was wonderful because they were happy to agree to it. This is important because in the beginning of this experiment, everyone was excited to try it and prove that socialism was the way to go. That's where this country needs to go, socialism, so it's all equal. So the first test, a lot of the students who studied hard did really well, got good grades, but then you still had these people who either just couldn't get the topic or maybe they just never really studied much at all and they really didn't care anyway. And so they dragged those other people down to a lower grade. So the average grade, instead of being, you know, some people with A pluses and some people with D's, the average grade actually was a B minus or a C. Okay, so it dropped considerably. Now, immediately out of the gate after the first test, the people who had studied more were very upset because they'd worked hard. They studied hard and they wanted to get good grades and they thought that, hey, everybody in class is going to be doing their part. Right? This is our chance to prove that socialism works, so let's all do our part. And what they discovered was that there are people who are just happy to ride on the coattails of those who work hard. So the end result was bitterness and tension. So the next time the test came along, those who didn't study and got the free lift studied even less because they figured, well, the people who are smart, well, they're just going to cover for us anyway, so I don't even have to study at all. I'm going to get a good grade anyway. So the people who studied hard and got lower grades thought, well, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to study if they're just going to get better grades too. I want a free ride too. I don't want to have to do this. So they didn't study. And the average for the next test was a D, maybe C minus. So it dropped considerably. This is where it got really interesting because that's where the bickering started. The people who used to study started complaining about the people who didn't study, and the people who didn't study complained that the people who usually study didn't help bring their grades up. Now all of a sudden there's infighting, right? So then the next test comes along and nobody studies. Nobody puts forth any effort because they're all like, I don't even care. You know what? They're not going to study, so I'm not going to study. I'm just going to let the grade, who cares? It's all going to be average of F then, fine. And guess what it was? It was an all F average on the next test. So the end of that class experiment was that every single student in the class failed. And the teacher failed them all. And that is how socialism actually works. Think about it now. The people who don't want to bother and don't have the motivation and the passion to grow and expand themselves. They just want to get by. I just want to do just enough to get by. They ride off of the coattails of the people who work hard. So if you don't have the motivation to work hard by being rewarded with a good grade or money or success or fame or just the feeling of being appreciated or recognized for your incredible work like a Nobel Prize, what's the point? If everybody gets a Nobel Prize, who wants a Nobel Prize? It's not special. If everybody gets the same amount of income, why should I work harder so that that schmo can sit around and just watch TV all day? That's the end result of socialism. That's the end result of communism. And even worse is that socialism and communism always has that political ruling party who runs everything and tells you all that you're not allowed to feel special, but they are. And then you have that separation. So this experiment in the classroom by this teacher really brought it home, because morally, people who talk about socialism and communism, they say it's fair, it's morally righteous because you're helping the downtrodden. You who are so wealthy and so successful and have worked so hard your whole life to make something of yourself, owe it to the rest of us to share your wealth, even though we decided not to work as hard as you, not to overcome the life hurdles that you had to overcome, not to make the sacrifices that you had to make. We didn't want to give up our weekends. We didn't want to give up our beer. We didn't want to give up our cable television and going to games and going out dancing and partying and sleeping in and being late for work. We didn't want to give that up. We let you give it up. And you have to pay us. You have to take care of us because we're downtrodden. And it's just not fair. It's just not fair. All right, so let's talk about it from a moral platform. All right, take that school, that teacher's experiment, and just put it aside for a second. What is socialism really? Really what it is morally is thievery. You're taking, let's say, my hard work, my hard-earned dollar, and you are passing laws that say, no, you can't just work hard and earn for yourself. You have to work hard and earn for everyone. Oh, but it's okay because everyone has to do that. Yeah, but everyone doesn't work hard. Only certain people work hard, and we're going to tax them the hardest. We're going to go after them the most because, well, the downtrodden, they're just downtrodden, and, it's not fair to force them to have to pay. They're downtrodden. Well, then what happens to the people who work hard? They decide, well, why should I work hard? I'll just pretend to be downtrodden too. Now I'm downtrodden too. Who's going to pay for your socialism? Who's going to pay for your communism? It's thievery. It's legalized thievery. You're reaching into someone's pocket and forcing them to pay for someone else who is not willing to go and do and build for themselves. And the really interesting thing is there's nothing natural about it. Nature and the world and life really doesn't care. It really doesn't care. The earth keeps spinning. It doesn't really matter. Oh, well, civilization, we're above that. We're above that. Are we really? Because if you let the masses vote, they vote for communism, and then communism destroys country after country after country, gets destroyed, disseminated, and then segregated into the powerful few and the downtrodden masses. The United States is a very unique experiment in history. It's the first time that the people of the country were the sovereign. The power comes from the citizens of this country. And yet the citizens over the last few generations have become so ignorant to their own responsibility and their own power that they're actually willing to give it away freely for pennies here and there, and for a few benefits here and there, and a little bit of Medicaid and Medicare, and a little bit of Social Security, all of those systems which, by the way, are socialist, and all of them which have failed miserably. So, This experiment with this teacher is beautiful because it's so simple and it shows exactly how socialism drains the passion and the enthusiasm and the ambition and the drive right out of the producers because it enslaves them for those who are not willing. So there you have it, a wonderful example of what socialism will do in a microcosm. I would love to hear your comments. I'm sure that you're very passionate about this subject. You can tell that I am too. And so I hope that you found value in this, even if it just made you so angry that you go and start studying socialism and actually figure out what really that means and what really the result of socialism and communism in the world has been. And the curious thing is, in the United States in the 1950s, it was called the Red Scare. People were terrified of communism because they understood money. They understood economics. They understood politics. It's incredible the disparity in education and understanding of how the systems actually function from those few years ago, those few decades, a couple generations to now. All of a sudden now, nobody seems to remember how money works, how economics works, how politics actually works. Everybody's talking about getting rid of the Electoral College. I mean, it's insane. There's a reason that the forefathers of this country put the Electoral College in place. And you know, here's an interesting topic. Go look this up. Many times people have tried to rewrite the U.S. Constitution to improve it, to make it more current for the modern day world, right? And every time they try to do it, it ends up being thousands of pages long and still doesn't do the job that the United States Constitution does. Let's just face the facts that our forefathers were geniuses and they had been through the ringer already with fake money and with communists and monarchy and all of these utopian ideas that failed. And they realized that the Constitution was the best direction to move in. Let's just, how about, give credit where credit is due to those forefathers and stop pretending that we know better at this point. Because the fact of the matter is, we have the greatest system in the world, in the greatest country in the world, and we're letting it slip away. And that is why I felt compelled to make this video. I hope you found value in it, and I hope you will make comments down below. Like I said before, if you liked it, definitely give a thumbs up. If you didn't, give a thumbs down. I'd love to hear what you have to think about it. But even more important, subscribe to our channel and make sure you stay up to date with all of the videos we have coming out. In fact, if you want to learn more about money, how it actually works, do yourself a favor and check out the link below for our course, The Richest You, Mastering Money. It will absolutely help you understand why I'm so passionate about staying capitalist, about staying the Republic of the United States of America, and not the democracy, not the socialist democracy, and not the communist state of the United States of America, the Republic of the United States of America. God bless America and God bless all of you. I hope that you like this, and I look forward to hearing what your comments are.